Today we're going to talk about a creature so massive, so absolutely strange, that the scientists who found it thought they discovered a mythical sea serpent. But you know what? The reality was somehow even weirder. This is the story of a puzzle that completely changed how we see evolution. This is the Leviathan that wasn't a lizard.
So, here's the big question that started it all. When paleontologists first dug up these bones, everything about its long, snake-like skeleton screamed king lizard. But as you're about to see, the clues hidden in the bones were telling a totally different story, pointing to something much more familiar, but, in a way, a whole lot stranger.
So, yeah, let's dive right into this crazy case of mistaken identity. Right back to the moment this incredible beast first got its name. Okay, so picture this. It's 1834. A paleontologist named Richard Harlan finds these gigantic vertebrae down in Alabama. He's convinced he's found the remains of some kind of colossal sea reptile, so he gives it this epic name, Basilosaurus. It literally means king lizard. The name was awesome, it stuck, but man was it wrong.
And you can't really blame the guy for thinking it was a monster. I mean, we are talking about an animal that stretched up to 60 feet long. To give you some perspective, that's about the length of a modern-day school bus. Just try to imagine that swimming next to you. No thanks.
And here's where it gets even weirder: the body shape. It wasn't built like the whales we know today, like a compact torpedo. Nope. Basilosaurus was super long and skinny, almost like an eel. It must have moved through the water in this undulating, snake-like way, looking exactly like something you'd read about in old sea myths.
So, if it looked like a lizard and its name literally means king lizard, how in the world do we know it wasn't one? Well, as it turns out, the truth was hiding in the nitty-gritty details of its skeleton. So let's take a closer look at the anatomy of this imposter.
This chart just lays it all out perfectly. I mean, look at the teeth. A reptile would have these simple, cone-shaped teeth, all pretty much the same. But Basilosaurus, it had complex teeth, incisors, canines, molars, just like a land mammal. And then there's how it swam. A reptile swims by moving side to side, right? But its spine shows that Basilosaurus flexed up and down. That is the classic swimming motion of a marine mammal. The evidence was just piling up.
So after all that confusion, the evidence was just undeniable. The king lizard was no lizard, it was a whale, and not just any whale, one of the very first giant whales to ever rule the oceans.
But wait, the story doesn't stop there. Not even close, because figuring out it was a whale just led to an even bigger, more mind-bending discovery. This ancient creature was hiding a secret about its body that would become like a cornerstone for our whole understanding of evolution.
Yeah, you heard that right. Look closely at that skeleton. Tiny, but perfectly formed hind legs, complete with little knees, ankles, and even toes. A whale with legs. Just let that sink in for a moment. Okay, so before we totally unpack the mystery of those legs, we need to understand the world this animal lived in. Because this strange, leggy whale wasn't just some evolutionary weirdo, it was the undisputed ruler of a lost ocean.
We've got to go way back in time for this one, about 40 million years ago, to the Eocene epoch. Basilosaurus wasn't swimming in the Atlantic or the Pacific. It was dominating the ancient Tethys Sea, which was this warm, shallow ocean just teeming with life. And in that world, Basilosaurus was at the absolute top of the food chain, no question.
So what's on the menu for an apex predator? Pretty much anything it wants. We've found fossilized stomach contents that show it ate huge fish and even sharks. But the most incredible evidence? It comes from the skulls of another, smaller whale called Dorudon. Scientists have found Dorudon fossils with these massive bite marks that are a perfect match for the jaws of a Basilosaurus. This thing was a whale that hunted other whales.
And as the famous anatomist Sir Richard Owen pointed out, the way it ate was just uniquely terrifying. Modern whales either filter feed or just swallow their prey whole. But Basilosaurus, it had a mouth full of different kinds of razor-sharp teeth, and it actively chewed its food. It was a predator in every sense of the word. All right, let's circle back to that unbelievable secret. It's time to really dig into the strangest thing about this animal. The fact that it was a whale with legs. What on earth were those things for? To get the legs, you first have to get this key idea in biology: vestigial structures. Think of them as evolutionary leftovers. They're body parts that an ancestor needed and used, but that the modern species doesn't really have a use for anymore. The human appendix or our wisdom teeth are perfect examples. So what's the deal with these specific legs? Well, for one, they were way too small and weak to ever hold up its huge body on land. They weren't even very good for swimming. The main theory is that they might have been used as claspers, to help hang on during mating. But really, their most important job for us today is what they represent: a direct physical connection to a time when the ancestors of whales walked on 4 legs on dry land.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective, and it shows one of the most incredible stories in evolution. 50 million years ago, the ancestors of whales were these wolf-sized animals walking around on land. A few million years later, you get these semi-aquatic walking whales. And then bam, 40 million years ago, there's Basilosaurus, totally in the water, but still carrying around the tiny legs of its ancestors. From there, it's a straight evolutionary line to the whales we know today who have lost those external legs completely.
So, what does it all mean? When you put all the pieces together, the wrong name, the fact that it was a terrifying predator, and those ghostly little legs, you get something truly special. Basilosaurus isn't just another fossil, it's one of evolution's weird masterpieces.
It's honestly one of the most powerful examples of what we call a transitional fossil ever found. It's like a perfect snapshot of a moment in time, a species caught right in the middle of this epic journey from land back to the sea. It's literally evolution caught in the act. And more than that, Basilosaurus teaches us something really fundamental about how evolution actually works. It's not some neat, straight line of progress. It's messy, it's creative, and it's often really, really strange. It's this sprawling tree of life, packed with odd experiments, evolutionary dead ends, and these beautiful, bizarre creatures like the king lizard that was really a whale with legs. Which, of course, leaves us with one last, tantalizing thought. Basilosaurus was hidden right there in the rocks for millions of years before it gave up its secrets. So the question is, what other unbelievable stories, what other evolutionary masterpieces are still out there, just hiding in stone, waiting for us to find them?